Alright, hello guys, hi, welcome to another video. Today I'll be talking about the hero tier list for Dawn of War from my point of view, my personal opinion. So actually I think the tier list has a lot of point of contention among everyone because some people feel that certain heroes are stronger than others and whatnot. So I rank my tier list, as you can see here, C, B, AS, and the way I rank it is actually based on a few criteria. So the criteria are actually how versatile they are, how well they fit their role, how well they do their role, yeah, as well, and also how they can integrate into any lineup, which is very important. And lastly, how strong they are from the early game to the late game. Obviously, you want a hero that is strong from the early to late game and does not fall off so quickly. Yeah. So okay, we are going to start from the C tier, and then we'll work our way up to the S tier. Okay, and yeah, as you can see there is a list of items that are available in Dawn of War, but are not available in or more like they are neutral items or not available in Dota. So I'll be using those items in Dota as a placeholder. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with Alchemist. Yeah, okay, so for Alchemist, as we all know, Alchemist helps you to farm lots of gold. So normally Alchemist, you can play him as a carry, or you can play him as a support. So when you play him as a support, basically you just get a Aghanim, and then you can eat it on any hero that you want. So for example, you have Alchemist, and let's say you have a Tinker, for example, you can use Alchemist to grant a Aghanim buff to Tinker. So in Dawn of War, how this works is that if you want Alchemist to grant the Aghanim buff to a certain hero, you place Alchemist with Aghanim close to the hero that you want to give the buff to, and when the battle starts, Alchemist will actually give the hero that is beside him the Aghanim buff. Yeah, so in this case is Tinker, for example. And then if you play him as a support, normally you want to go attack pre-medal, so make sure that he does not rush in and die. So attack pre-medal, you get like let's say for example attack pre-medal here. And then you can go for Aeon Beast, yeah, and then you can go for Shard. Shard actually grants the Berserk Potion. So if you're playing a carry, Alchemist can actually support it by throwing the Berserk Potion, and then you increase its attack speed and HP regen. So you can grant it like on Juggernaut, for example. So it's quite decent. And Alchemist is also very tanky, so he wouldn't die very quickly. You can actually play him as a support, like I mentioned. So you give him all the auras, for example. Yeah, and then he will actually be your aura carrier / support. Yeah, and this is one way to play him. Of course, another way to play him is as a carry. I think most of people play him as a carry. So if you play him as a carry, definitely you have like a BKB, you have like some Satanic, and then you have a Pirate Head, I guess. So Pirate Head. You probably need an MKB also, and then S and Y. Sometimes you need a refresher because of the opponent having multiple disables, so you also need a refresher sometimes. And if you do not have a refresher, maybe you can have a Daedalus or Dagger, and then on neutral item you can go for Paladin Sword, which is quite decent, or you can go for maybe Imclaw or something. Yeah, so playing carry build definitely just want a lot of attack speed for Alchemist. Yeah, so the reason that he is not rated so highly is because he can be countered quite easily by Eye of Skadi and Shiva's Guard, or even Spirit Vessel. So all these items actually reduces the HP regen of Alchemist, which is quite a hard counter to Alchemist. Yeah, and for him, he relies purely on physical damage and he's actually quite squishy. Just that he has high regen, but his stats are actually quite low. HP is quite low and armor is quite low. Of course, you get extra 3k HP in Dawn of War, but he's actually still quite squishy, unless he has a ton of status resistance with Titan Silver, for example. So you can play as a carry, but I think there are way better carries. For example, like a Phantom Assassin or even a Sven who does more damage. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next hero. Okay, next we have Chaos Knight. Alright, so for Chaos Knight can be played both as a carry and as a support. So normally when you play him as a support, you would want him to have a Arcane Scepter. That's all you need. So actually Arcane Scepter works differently here as well as in Dawn of War, because in Dawn of War he actually summons 3 illusions for the hero. So if you are pairing it with a DK, you will summon 3 Phantasm illusions for DK, and they are DK illusions, so they do 100% damage as well. So they are actually really strong, and it has 30 seconds cooldown in Dawn of War. So all you need if you are playing him as a support is just an Arcane, that's all. And if you are playing him as a carry, that's also possible, because he has a very short cooldown for his Reality Whip and Chaos Bolt, and his Chaos Bolt cooldown is actually quite short, and he actually has +2 seconds stun duration for in Dawn of War. Yeah, so you can play as a carry. If you're playing as a support, you probably just want to get a attack free medal. So just an attack free medal would be good enough, or even a follower medal. Maybe you get a follower medal, something like that, and then Aeon this. And then you'll be following your Juggernaut or Terrorblade to create illusions. Yeah. So for playing him as a support, the problem is that if the opponent has a lot of lockdowns, for example, Konka's Ghost Ship or Jakiro Heights Path, this will actually stop your illusions from attacking, and illusions can be busted down quite easily with magic. If you do not have any protection, because your hero can carry BKB, but illusions are not protected by spell immunity, so they can still be busted quite easily with magic. Yeah, or even by stopping them from attacking, by disabling them. Yeah. If you're playing Chaos Knight as carry, like I mentioned, it's also possible. I think it's quite decent. I just got to make sure that opponent does not have mass disables for him. And the fact is that he is melee and he does have a gap closer, so I think it's quite possible for him to play as a carry. Yeah. Alright, moving on to the next hero. Okay, next hero we have is Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker is a relatively new hero. I tried experimenting with it for a few games, but I think that he isn't really very strong. Yeah, even though he's buffed in Dawn of War, but I think his skillset still requires some work, because the damage from Solar Guardian isn't high enough. The heal also isn't high enough, and the skill set is quite clunky for Dawn of War as well. Maybe for normal Dota it's fine. Yeah, so I tried various item builds. I normally play him as a carry. Yeah, I think he works best when you're jumping the opponent's back line. Then you can go for something like a fallen sky, and then refresher. You can go for BKB, satanic, then yeah, maybe a Daedalus and KB, something like that. Yeah, so he will just jump to the opponent's backline, cast the ulti and cast again. Yeah. So one thing about Dawnbreaker in Dawn of War is that he will ulti to the front line no matter where he is on the map. So even though you are in the back line, there's no such thing as a cast range for Solar Guardian, because he's casting based on the opponent's and based on your jump to the nearest ally, right? So he will actually jump to the front line ally. Yeah. And then you ulti there. So you ulti there, you jump back again if you have the Fallen Sky, you jump behind the opponent's backline, and then you can ulti again. So I think that's the best way to play him really. Yeah. But in terms of carry potential and damage output, he isn't as strong as the other melee carries. Yeah. So if you have a build for him, maybe you can let me know. But as of now, I think he still needs more work to be done. Maybe some skill change, or maybe he needs to be buffed even further in Dawn of War for him to be playable. Yeah.
Into chaos.
Okay, so next hero we have is Huskar. Yeah, so Huskar is actually he's a very good tank slash carry, and then he's very survivable at level 30 because he has talents that actually boost Berserker's Blood, Life Break, Burning Speed. Yeah, so he's actually very strong. But he single target damage, and his damage does not really pierce BKB. Only the Burning Spears when you hit level 25. So that is good for him as well. But he's probably better as like a second carry, as a 6 hero, because when he jumps in, it's easy for him to get disabled, and then he will actually die quite quickly. So it's actually quite awkward because he wants to be a ranged carry, but at the same time he has a life break that forces him forward. So it's quite of how do I say this? It's not something that you really want in a range carry, right? You really want a range carry to have a distance from the opponent. Yeah. So maybe you can disable the life break if you want for the 2v2 stage, and then during 1v1 stage you can use a life break, enable life break, and assassin medal the opponent's carry or the opponent's support. Because with the Guardian Scepter, you are actually forcing the opponent's carry to attack you. Yeah. So this is actually quite good because Huskar is like one of the strongest for 1v1s other than Slada, so you can actually force the opponent to attack you with the Guardian, with the assassin medal. Yeah. Okay, so your build would normally be like you can go for like a Satanic, you can go for MKB, you can go for SNY, or you need some armor, you can go for Sarkirus. Probably you want to go for hard also, it's also possible. Yeah. Sorry, I need a BKB somewhere. Yeah. Neutral item you can go for. I think Minotaur Horn is really good, or maybe a Giant's Ring, for example, is also good as well. Yeah. So for example, you have an enemy here. Yeah, when you jump him, he's forced to attack you. So even when you're running away, he has no choice but to attack you. So you can actually use this to your advantage by jumping the opponent's spot, or jumping the opponent's carry and forcing them to attack you as well. Yeah, I think he's quite decent as a carry. Best used in 1v1 stage, like I mentioned, because he does not really have a multi-target. Yeah, like Drow or Clings, which will be stronger in the 2v2 stage. Okay, next we have a Legion Commander. A Legion Commander is a really strong late game carry because his duel allows him to stack lots of damage if you are playing him early and you're able to get enough stacks. The drawback is that most of the time if you're playing LC, you require some time to scale up your damage because you need to win duels before you get damage. So until you get to that point where the breaking point where you have enough damage to kill the opponent fast within your duel, you'll be losing quite a lot of health in the early game. Normally, if you're playing LC, you want to play as the rear lane, so that you can jump in safer as compared to playing the front lane. Yeah, so play the rear lane is safer. He's also really good with the Aghanim and Aghanim shot bonus, because the Aghanim bonus reduces the amount of damage that they take from outdoor sources by 50%, and also reduces your cooldown by 20 seconds. Actually reduce further in Dawn of War, so you can actually get off multiple duels in game. Yeah, and your shard actually gives you magic immunity. So even when your BKB is down, when you have magic immunity, the opponent's spellcasters and will not be able to touch you at all. Yeah, as long as LC is in melee range and attacking, it's fine. Just need to be careful of opponent who has single target disables like Winter Wyvern or Bane. So these heroes can actually counter LC quite easily because LC can only do damage when he's attacking. When he's not attacking, he can't really do much damage. Yeah, and you can see that it's actually not very tanky. Armor is quite low, so he can be bursted down quite easily by your opponent as well. And also your duel reduces outgoing damage by 50%, but it's not 100%. So it's still possible for you to die during this situation if there's heavy physical burst damage during your duels. Yeah, so you need to be careful of that. So your item build will probably be you need a Satanic, you need a BKB, Refresher, dagger, you definitely need a assassin medal to jump on the opponent's unit as well.
Immediately.
Yeah, and you go for Aeon Disc so that you can secure your ulti. Because if you don't have Aeon Disc, you might get busted down before your ulti. Sorry, before your ulti goes off. Yeah,
On my way.
go for Daedalus. Yeah, so this will probably be your item build.
On it.
Assassin medal the opponent's carry, because that's very important. Yeah, and if you are jumping, you actually might want the nullifier, your assassin medal, because nullifier helps to push off Aeon Disc. So for example, if you are dueling this X here, and X has an Aeon Disc, so what happens is that LC will cast a nullifier first, and then when you actually duel the X, when his Aeon Disc proc, you will actually remove the Aeon Disc buff. Yeah. Okay, let me do it again. Sorry, I don't have enough damage. Let's say we have Rapiers. Okay, Rapiers. Okay, now we are going to throw a nullifier, and then we're going to. So actually, his Aeon Disc can't proc. I'm not sure why he didn't proc, but the Aeon Disc will proc, and then you will get disabled by the nullifier actually. Yeah. So this is actually a very good item if you are jumping. Yeah, so the Aeon Disc proc here, and then the nullifier will disable it. So if you are using assassin medal, please check if your opponents have Aeon Disc. If they have Aeon Disc, you want a nullifier to remove the Aeon Disc so that you do not waste time attacking them. The BKB division is very important here. Yeah. Alright, moving on to the next hero. Okay, next hero we have is Lifestealer. Lifestealer, normally you play him as a carry, but the problem is that his skill set isn't really very strong. The good thing is that he has Rage, and if you get a BKB, he will Rage, and then after his BKB, after his Rage, he'll BKB, and vice versa. But the issue is that Lifestealer does not have damage. His skill set does not give him damage. He is very survivable because he has Feast and Rage, so he's able to survive a long time in the battlefield. But he does not have any innate spells that gives him damage, such as Sven Squad Strength, Medusa Split Shot, or Drown Ranger's Marksmanship, and Frost Arrows. So he might be tanky, but he will not be doing damage. So I think this hero needs a rework. I think he can work if the opponent is playing has no physical damage and it's just purely magic. Then you probably work, because he has all the time in the world to actually take his time and jump back and hit the opponent's carry. So if you are playing, I wouldn't recommend playing Lifestealer as a Lifestealer at all as of now. So if you actually want to play him, you can go for like Abyssal, Sensei Yasha, something like that. And then you need an Assassin Medal as well. Maybe a Daedalus somewhere. Yeah, and an MKB. But as of now, he isn't a really very strong carry, so I'll try to play other heroes instead of Lifestealer for now. Alright, for Snapfire is quite a decent hero. He is a carry and also a magic hero, a spellcaster. So early game, Snapfire is really good because of his ulti. So what you do is that you just get a refresher, and all you need is his ulti, and then he will just ulti and hit the opponent's heroes when they clump up together. Yeah, best played as a backline unit, so that the opponents are actually, the opponent's front lane and rear lane are actually clump up together, and then your ulti can actually do more damage. The bad thing is that when the opponent has a jumper such as a Wraith King or Undying or something, or Void Spirit, Snapfire will actually, AIs will be screwed up, and his ulti will actually try to hit the opponent that is jumping instead of the backline units. So you need to be careful of that. Yeah, you can transition me to as a carry late game because of his third spell. This spell actually gives him quite some late game potential, especially if you have this talent. Yeah. So with these two talents, his third spell actually deals damage based on your hero's damage, uses your attack damage. So you can go for Desolators and Rapiers, you know, orb effects as well. Let's say you go for Daedalus, and yeah, let's say with multiple targets here. Yeah, you see the DPS is actually quite high. But the problem with him playing as a DPS as a carry is because the only problem playing as a carry is he is very reliant on the Leo Shredder, the third spell. He doesn't have high attack speed or damage, so you need to give him lots of damage item and also cooldown reduction, because as I mentioned, his damage comes from the third spell. By casting third spell, it gives him attack speed, yeah, and the multi-shot. So he's a carry that is reliant on his spells to do damage, and he does not really have physical, single target damage. So this will be a problem late game when there's an opponent jumping, or let's say we are fighting a DK. Yeah, you can't really burst down to the DK because you want to build damage, not attack speed, because you have the third spell. If you are building attack speed, you are sacrificing your damage because your third spell gives you attack speed. And then if you are building damage, this is the best way to go. But you also need a Octarine Core also to reduce the cooldown, so that you can actually do damage based on this. Yeah. But early game he's a very solid hero. The reason why it's not higher is, as I mentioned, because his carry potential is based on third spell, which is a bit clunky because he requires too many items, and also because he doesn't have single target damage, and his strength base, which means that items like Butterfly does not really work well on him. Yeah, so I think there are better carries, better range carries for that.
Broken.
Alright, the next hero we have here is Arc Warden. Unfortunately, Arc Warden is removed from Dawn of War because it was causing some crash. But Arc Warden is played as a carry slash utility hero because of his Tempest double spell, which allows him to grant him another illusion of himself that is able to cast items and spells, which is very useful. So you want to give him. You don't want to give him like a normal damage carry build like Daedalus, MKB kind of items. You just want to give him those castable items, probably like a Bloodthorn, a Nullifier, a BKB, for example, Hurricane Pike. And then you can choose the other two items, which is what you want to have the other two items for. Castable items are probably better for him because his illusions can also cast them as well. Yeah. And his second spell is grants him 100% evasion bonus, so he can also be played as a utility because it grants him the evasion bonus to his team who are inside the bubble. Yeah, so this is actually quite a good spell. And if you get the Guardian Shard, it actually grants those that are inside magic resistance as well. Yeah, so that's quite decent. And the ulti is fine, I think. Yeah, it's spammable as magic, but it doesn't pierce BKB, so late game it wouldn't be that strong. Probably for the early game, if you get an early Aghanim for Arc Warden, it will be quite decent. Yeah, I'll probably want to give him Octarine Core and let's say a force boots. Yeah, so he can be casting his spells all the time while still being safe. Yeah, so like I mentioned, you do not really want to play him as a main carry. You play him as like a secondary carry slash utility hero. I think that's the best position for him right now. But as of now, since he's removed from the game, you can't really play him. But yeah, this is my take on him when he was still playable. Alright, the next hero is Broodmother. Okay, yeah, Broodmother is a really very annoying hero, especially when when you do not have enough wave clear. Yeah, then it's going to be a very big problem because his spiders are actually really strong in Dawn of War. So in Dota it's only 670 HP, but in Dawn of War his HP is, I think, is about 2k, 1.8k or 2k. So that's a lot of HP to actually chew through. before you can actually get to him. So if you are playing single target carries, that's going to be a very huge problem because you are going to spend a lot of time hitting spiderlings instead of the actual heroes itself, and this will actually cause you to lose the game since your damage output might seem very high, but they're all spiderlings damage and not actual heroes. Yeah, so you gotta be careful when you see a Broodmother in the hero pool. Make sure that you have enough damage as well as disables. Disables like probably Jakiro Ice Path is good. For carries you can go for Drow, Klings, Medusa. Mirana is also good against Broodmother. So if you're actually playing Broodmother, you can go for like a BKB Refresher, and then you can go for like a Abyssal, and you can go for Satanic as well, and Nullifier, maybe a Butterfly. Yeah, but items are interchangeable, so this is just a rough guide of what to buy. Yeah, neutral items I think is quite versatile actually. You can go for Titan Silver. Yeah, and then with your Aghanim and Aghanim Shard, yeah, this is very useful because with the Aghanim you can spam your spin webs and yeah, you get max move speed, allows you to move freely through the Dawn of War map. And I think the Aghanim Shard, I think it's just fine because early game when the opponent does not have MKB, you can actually use that to annoy them because they can't really attack you without MKB. But late game when all carries have MKB, this spell is really a mood spell. It's not very useful. The good thing is that in Dawn of War, Broodmother talents are actually very strong. I think there's a 50% talent, 50% evasion talent, some 20 armor talent, stuff like that. Yeah, so it can be played as a carry, quite useful. But just like Dota, Broodmother falls off quite quickly into a late game. The only exception is when the opponent does not have any wave clear. Then that's when Broodmother shines the brightest. Yeah.
Yes. The hunt starts now.
Call me Ember Spirit.
Prepare for battle.
On and on again. Harmony must be earned. Be still, little life. What dangers lie here? None. You have no chance. Balance in all things. All action is reaction. Empowered, burn with the radiance. Scepter of ultimate power. My image steps forth. The road is endless. Tis critical, this dataless. All paths find serenity. Walk a warrior's way. Be wary, be cautious. It must be done. flame lights the way. Recast
Like spiders.
Prepare for battle.
Yes. Yes.
It's not time.
So be it. Yes. With speed. I am Ember Spirit.
The great descent. So you say.
Prepare for battle.
Cut to the chase. Hunt of Tarrasque. Manta style. Honor guides me. Gold for the deep. No Slytherin may fail. Slither hither. From sea to shore. Indeed. As commanded. Yes. calls. Yes. Make a splash. Slithering. Ah, scepter. No Slytherin may fail. Any way you slice it. Serpentine. Slithering. My soul.
Venomancer. Quick as venom. Agitation.
Prepare for battle.
Impaled. Yes. As you say. Going. With vim and venom. My venom moves.
First blood. Both ways.
Ah, first blood. Yes.
Yeah, so you just got for Venomancer. Venomancer is a very good magic hero. Veno works well when you're playing a attack free build. So actually, like I showed just now, I didn't realize my mic was off. Let's see, you have a BKB here.
And one army. To battle.
You cast a BKB and Poison Nova. The Poison Nova will still stay on the X. Yeah, so this is why it's so good. But Venomancer is a situational hero. Best played when the opponent has some when you are able to sustain and last as long as possible on the battlefield. Yeah. if you are going to die to burst damage, then Venom will not be very useful, as you can be countered by BKB quite easily as well.
Siren.
I am Venomancer.
Next hero we're talking about is Viper. Alright, so Viper is a carry utility hero. You normally use Viper for its Nether Toxin, because Nether Toxin is able to break the opponent. So if opponent has like a Spectre, your Nether Toxin will actually break him and he can actually be very vulnerable. Yeah, so yeah, it's very strong against heroes who have passives like Mars, Spectre, and Timbersaw. Yeah, but other than that, Viper is just an alright hero. He's also very decent early game because Nether Toxin deals huge AoE magic damage. Yeah, and another utility for him is that with Aghanim Scepter, his ulti is very spammable, and it gives a very huge attack speed slow, which is very decent as well. Yeah, attack speed slow is really good against opponents. So you can use this to sort of reduce the opponent's carry's effectiveness. Yeah. But other than that, he's just a very situational hero, just to counter heroes with passives.
Concentrated air.
Alright, the next hero we have is Invoker. Invoker's main spell is actually Chaos Meteor as well as the Cataclysm. So normally you just want the Cataclysm, so you have Aghanim. The main core items are Aghanim Scepter, Refresher, probably a BKB, and then you just pray and hope that Invoker casts its double Cataclysm perfectly and on time, kill the opponent hero. That's about it. His other spells are very lackluster, although he has multiple spells, but the spells are not really very good actually. The only spells that are good is Cataclysm actually. Yeah, so Cataclysm damage actually goes through spell immunity, so that's the good thing. Yeah, but the one issue I face with Invoker is that he's a one-trick pony. Once he casts his ulti, once he casts his Cataclysm, he's quite useless. Yeah, and it's also very inconsistent because sometimes he might be casting Cataclysm when the opponents are walking, and when this happens, he will actually miss most of its Cataclysm Sunstrikes. Yeah. So I'd rather go for a more sustainable as well as reliable source of damage, rather than Invoker, which is really based on luck. Yeah. So next hero is Keeper of the Light. Alright, so Keeper of the Light is definitely a strong support hero, but it's very situational because normally you only pick him as a support because you want the Chakra Magic. So you need to have heroes that synergize well with KOTL or the Chakra Magic, and heroes that synergize well are Tiny, because when you Chakra Magic he will be able to cast its 3 volume more often. You can use it for Techies as well, where you can lower the cooldown for its mines, which is quite decent early game. Yeah, but other than that, KOTL is not that useful other than the utility of its Chakra Magic. Yeah. So if you are playing him, you can just go for survivable items and just stay on this, for example, just to make sure that he doesn't die. You need a Follower's Medal so that you will be able to cast its spells on the hero. Yeah, if you don't get the Follower's Medal, then there's no guarantee that you'll cast its Chakra Magic on the on the hero that you want to. So you just place the hero that you want KOTL to Chakra, and you place him beside the hero, and he would cast Chakra Magic on that hero. Yeah, so that's about it. A situational hero for Chakra Magic, based on the hero pool. Let's just need to see if there's any hero that actually supports this. Next hero we have is Lich. Lich has a really strong early game from Chain Frost, and he also has actually the important spells are Chain Frost, Frost Shield, and Sinister Gaze. Yeah, early game Chain Frost deals a massive amount of damage, but late game when opponents has BKB, Chain Frost does not really do much. Then you probably be looking at Sinister Gaze and Frost Shield. Frost Shield is very decent because it actually gives you damage reduction up to 60%. So when you have Lich, you can actually cast, put a follower medal and put it beside a hero such as a Spectre or some tanker, and you actually ensure that the hero is really tanky, and yeah, you take way lesser damage. Yeah, and the cooldown is actually quite short. I think it's 10 seconds in Dawn of War, so it's actually very spammable as well. Another important thing about Lich is the Sinister Gaze. When you have opponents who are playing attack-free heroes, it's really hard to hit their backlines if there is no jumpers. So one way is to use Lich with an Argonian Scepter, and you're able to pull the opponent's hero to you. Yeah, so you normally want him to have just cast range. That's all. Cast range is very important for Lich, so that you can pull them from further away. Yep. So its only utility is actually Sinister Gaze and Frost Shield late game. Best used in an attack-free lineup when opponents have very strong backlines and you want to pull them towards you. It doesn't really make sense if your opponents have very strong jumpers and you're playing Lich, because there's no one to pull, unless you want it for the Frost Shield. But using a hero just for one spell is kind of doesn't really make sense, because Frost Shield is not a spell that's worthy enough for you to free him just for that. Yep.
Beneath my warm exterior.
Alright, so Techies is a really fun hero. Actually, if you're playing Techies, you want to disable the blast off so that it doesn't jump forward. Yeah, and then you play him as he's a magic hero, right? So you have an attack-free medal, and then just need attack-free medal. You can get a Soul Ring, a Bloodstone, Argonian Scepter. So a Bloodstone, maybe an Octarine Core, Argonian Scepter. Yep. Then just give it as much mana items as you need, and you just cast its mines and you just keep walking forward. Yeah, its move speed is actually 200 in Dawn of War, I think, so that's actually quite decent. I think it's only best used when paired with Keep of the Light, but like I mentioned, the counters is that when opponents have summons, you eat up the bomb charges, and also if the opponent has jumpers, they can just Assassin Medal and kill your Techies very easily. Yeah. So it's more like a fun hero, but isn't that practical to use.
If you want explosions,
Except no substitutes.
Okay, so the next hero we have here is Visage. Visage deals huge damage early game because of its familiars. Familiars are buff in Dawn of War, I think. Yeah. So another good thing about Visage is that because with Visage, Shadow Shaman is quite a popular hero. So if your opponent has Shadow Shaman or you can use familiars to actually destroy its support wards quite easily. Yeah, and also its Soul Assumption actually hits multiple targets, hits two units. So you do not really need items for Visage to do damage. All he needs is to stay on the battlefield and enough mana, and then you'll be able to spam your Soul Assumption. So yeah, actually Soul Assumption and your familiars, these are the only two important spells for you. Yeah, the others are not that important. He's used for early game, and that's about it. You normally want to change him up for mid game and late game. Yeah. So another footnote is that for Techies, yeah, you can use him as a Aghanim Shard with Bloodstorm. For that, I think that's a really cool idea as well. Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably try that next time. Okay, so next hero we have is Sand King. Sand King is really shines the greatest during the early to mid game with its Barrel Strike and Epicenter combo. When the opponent does not have BKB, Sand King is literally the king.
Prepare for battle.
Yeah, so this hero can carry to the early to mid game, and it's very strong when the opponent does not have BKBs. Yeah, but as you can guess, the drawback is that once you casted your double epicenters, they are pretty much useless, because although you can cast your Barrel Strikes multiple times, but you do not really have much damage anymore. And yes, you can say that you can get a use, but it can be countered easily with Nullifier. Yeah. So most of the time opponents have enough physical damage, and they are able to burst down the Sand King. And late game when opponents have BKBs, the heroes have BKBs, Sand King won't be doing much damage. Although the Barrel Strike has very short cooldown duration, but once they have BKB refresher, you won't be touching them for at least like 15 to 16 seconds. Yeah, so that's going to be a very big problem for Sand King. Alright, so if you're keen on playing Sand King, the items that you want is probably a BKB refresher, that's the main one. You can go for a dagger also. Let's say for the dagger, you can go for Aeon Beast. A lot of people go for Bloodstone, but I think Sand King has spell lifesteal talent in Dawn of War, so Bloodstone is probably optional. You want to or you don't want to. I think that's fine. You need an Octarian Core. Maybe an use. Yeah, so that's about it. Yeah, but I don't recommend playing him because he falls off very quickly into the late game, because once the opponent has BKBs, his usefulness is very limited.
I step from the sea.
Alright, so the next hero we have here is Tidehunter.
Prepare for battle.
Alright, so Tidehunter is normally played as a jumper or tanker. With his Ravage early game, he actually sets up for very good spells. Yeah, but like I mentioned, he has the same problem as Sand King. When the opponent has BKB, so Tidehunter won't be doing much. The only saving grace for Tidehunter is you play him as the front line, and you play him as the initiator. So you put him just right in front of your front line, and then you just pray and hope that he will actually jump in and ravage the opponent before they get to cast their BKBs. Yeah, so that's about the usefulness of Tidehunter. Obviously, some people play him as you can play him as a support as well. You got Aghanim Scepter and an attack free medal, so that he can just spam his gush. This is an AoE gush, which reduces the opponent's armor by quite a decent amount. And you also can play him as a carry as well. I guess you can play him as a carry, and then you get a Swift Blink for this. Yeah, and then you just blink in with Anchor Smash. But this is also a very situational build, because there are better carries for this as well. Yeah. Right, so for the last hero on this C tier, it will be Terrorblade. I think a lot of people will be quite surprised. Why is Terrorblade in the C tier? Yeah, the main issue with Terrorblade is that he is actually quite squishy. Even though he's maxed out, his HP is only 1.7k. yeah, 2.2k with the talents. Yeah, so it's actually quite squishy, and he does not really have much to offer actually. He has quite a good attack range, yes. But his damage is actually single target. Yeah. So even if you get a Manta, it's still single target. If the opponent has a Abaddon is jumping towards you, you'll be hitting the Abaddon for eternity, and the Abaddon before the Abaddon dies. So you'll be taking up a lot of your time. The good thing that Terrorblade has is with the Aghanim Scepter, he has a Terror Wave, which is 20 seconds cooldown in Dawn of War. So this is actually a pretty decent spell. Yeah, but yeah, it's countered with opponent as BKB, it probably will not be as effective. So if you're playing Terrorblade, you want the fight to drag as long as possible so that you'll be decent. Terrorblade is actually really afraid of jumpers such as Meeples, Centaurs, or X. Yeah. As compared to heroes like Dragon Knight, even if you assassinate Metal Dragon Knight, it's really hard to kill Dragon Knight because he has massive amounts of armors and HP. Yeah, so I think that one of the closest comparison is probably Dragon Knight, and he has a AoE Dragon Tail. Yeah, so I'll probably go in favor of a Dragon Knight if you want a tankier carry, or if you want a more DPS carry, you can go for a Cleanse or a Draw Ranger. Draw Ranger and Cleanse both have multi-target units, so those are probably stronger than Terrorblade. Yeah, Terrorblade you can actually play him obviously with support such as Shadow Demon or Chaos Knight. They are able to create illusions for, so this could be quite a strong as well. Yeah, if the opponent doesn't have enough burst damage, Terrorblade will be decent because its Thunder is quite spammable, so it's able to stay alive for a very long period of time.
Riki's rage is stronger than death.
Okay, I'm going to take a 5 minutes break before I move on to the B tier. So as of now, you guys can take a look at the tier list that I have now, that I've grouped based on the rating that I gave them. If you have any questions, you can ask me when I get back. Alright, 5 minutes break. Alright guys, I'm back. Alright, so the next hero we have is Bristleback. Alright, I can't count the number of times I've lost to a Bristleback when I was still like silver and gold because of one Bristleback jumping to my backline and there's no way I can stop him. But actually there's a very simple way to counter Bristleback. So if you watch my videos, the counter for Bristleback is actually break. As long as you have Shadow Demon with a Purge or Dawnbreaker with a Guardian Scepter, all you need to do is break Bristleback's passive and he will be easy for you to kill already. Unless he has God of War armor, then that will probably make him really tough to kill. Yeah. So Bristleback all around I think is quite a decent hero, but because he's so easily countered by break, that's why he's not higher on the tier list. Items that is good on Bristleback will probably be you probably want a Bloodthorn, a BKB. You need a dagger also. This is very important because if you don't have a blink dagger, you will not be able to jump to the opponent's backline because he needs to be in as close range as many units as possible, so that the Cruise Spray can actually hit as many targets as possible. If you are forever trapped in the front line hitting the baton, then that's not very good for you. Yeah. So you need Bloodstone, Blink Dagger, BKB, go for Lotus. Beyond this, maybe you need a refresher for the double BKB. Then for a neutral item, you want a God of War armor. Yeah, so this would probably be your ideal build for Bristleback. But the thing is that Bristleback late game will fall off because you need to stack up multiple stacks for it to be strong. It's good against heroes like when fighting against Meepos, but if you're fighting against single target DPS, fighting against Lada, DK, those heroes are able to burst you down, especially when there are no units around for you to actually Kill Spray from. And because Kill Spray you can't keep up your spell lifesteal, then your tankiness drops by a lot. Yeah. And also, if your opponent stacks armor, it's very hard for you to do damage. DK has very high armor, for example, Terrorblade as well. So if opponent has if the heroes has very high armor, Terrorblade will not be very useful. One way to counter is you get Buckler, Assault Cuirass, get multi-stack, just stack your armor, and that will be quite easy to kill because you won't be able to spell life too much, and you can actually kill him with your damage after that. Yeah. Okay, next we have is Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight is one tanky hero because of its Dragon's Blood and Talon. And in Dawn of War, its Talon are actually amplified even further. So it has greater range and Dragon's Blood is actually more effective as well. Yeah, so Dragon Knights, you just get standard items. And you also want a Pirate Head. You can go for Pirate Head early and then you can get the stacks as fast as possible. Yeah. So Dragon Knight is quite a decent carry. With the AoE splash especially, it's able to kill off opponent units very quickly. And also the AoE slow is actually very impressive. It's a 60% movement slow and 60 attack speed slow, which is quite a huge amount actually. One problem is that Dragon Knight on its own does not do damage. He's very reliant on items, and you can actually kite him also if you have a jumper such as Timbersaw or Pangolier. So you can force him to face backwards if you have jumpers, and when he's facing backwards he will not be attacking the front line, and your front line can actually come and kill Dragon Knight. So this is one of the flaws of range heroes. Yeah, but the thing is that Drow Ranger and Cleanse, they both have steroid spells that give them damage. Cleanse has Searing Arrows and Strafe. Drow has Marksmanship and they are agility based, so it's way easier to gear them up. Yeah, but overall Juggernaut is a very solid carry that you can use. Yeah, not to mention its strength, so it's actually quite hard to burst down, especially if opponents are playing jumpers. You probably want to go for Juggernaut instead of a Drow, since it's harder to burst him down. Alright, next hero we have here is Ember Spirit.
Prepare for battle.
Alright, so Ember Spirit is actually a very annoying hero in the early game because he has AoE silence. And yeah, the AoE silence actually hinders spellcasters without BKBs. Yeah, he's able to have almost infinite uptime on the silence. So he's a very dangerous hero early in the game when the heroes does not have BKBs. But like Sand King and Tidehunter, he falls off very quickly once they have BKBs because his survivability and damage comes from spell damage. Once he's not able to do spell damage, he's not able to spell lifesteal, and then he will actually die quite quickly to physical damage. If you are playing him, you can go for a BKB refresher, Altering Core, dagger as well. Yeah, Bloodstone and the Aeon this. Maybe you can change this to a Lotus Orb. Yeah, probably something like that for Ember Spirit. Yeah. But the reason why it's higher than Sand King and Tidehunter is because he has more utility. Yeah, the silencers is very useful, sort of like a Puck Waning Reef that is able to perma silence the opponent. He's very good against specific lineups. Not as versatile, but he good against specific lineups. Yeah.
By the honor, so my legend begins.
Alright, next hero we have here is Ember Spirit. I think Ember Spirit is one of everyone's favorite hero. Earthshaker, sorry. I meant Earthshaker. Alright, so Earthshaker, yeah, there is a standard build, you go for Aghanim, BKB, Refresher, you go for a Fallen Sky as well, and then you want to jump in with a dagger and go slam, right, and then he would refresh and jump again. But when you do that, if he jumps in and he gets caught, he will die, so that could be quite an issue. So some people have done this build where they do an attack free medal. It's quite trendy. You go for attack free medal on Earthshaker, and you got an A on this somewhere, and like an Altering Core. Yeah, when you eat your Aghanim, and then you can go for a Bloodstone. So what you do is that what happens is that he will jump in, he will cast his spells, and then he will jump out with an attack free medal. And then when his spells are off cooldown, then he will jump in again. So this is actually safer for him because he will only jump in when he has when his spells are up. And also, whenever he casts spells, he will actually trigger aftershock along the entire fissure path with yeah, as you can see, the Aghanim Shard effect. So it's actually quite decent to play Earthshaker here. Yeah, but yeah, same thing, it's countered very easily with a BKB, and he's if you're playing, you need to make sure that you can able to sustain the fight and last as long as possible. If you are playing into like for example a Magnus, a Sven, Enigma kind of lineup where they do so much burst damage, then Earthshaker probably wouldn't be that good because he wouldn't be able to burst them down during the double BKB refresher duration. And even if you are jumping, opponents heroes can just get an Aeon Disc, and Aeon Disc can actually just counter you because you're not able to burst them. And when you can't burst them, the Aeon Disc will proc, giving them extra status resistance, and then they can cast their BKBs, or they can yeah, they are able to free to cast their spells after that because they have a hard dispel on them. Yeah. So because of Aeon this is like one of the biggest issues to Earthshaker. You're not able to burst them down effectively. But other than that, if your opponent has no Aeon Disc, yeah, Earthshaker is a really strong hero. No Aeon Disc or BKBs. Alright, next we have is Lycan. Lycan role is a support slash utility because of his howl, and early game is Lycan move is actually strong. So the way to play Lycan is to get a Guardian Scepter as a support, and let's create a hero here. Create hero Dragon Knight. Alright. Okay, so when Dragon Knight actually casts his a dragon form, you can bite the Dragon Knight. And let me just change the hero. No, actually, let me just select enemy hero. Dragon Knight. Enemy. And then we have a Lycan here.
Dragon to the face. I've killed dragons. Less specific. The dragon waits.
Alright, so let's say the Lycan has Agani. One cool interaction is that when you bite the Dragon Knight, it turns to wolf form. It's supposed to be melee form, right? But when you activate your dragon form, you can see that it actually has extra attack range. So basically, Lycan works well with heroes with transformation spells because it will not be melee. You will still grant the bonus attack range from the transformation spell, as you can see here. Yeah. But it still has the crit from Lycanthrope. As you can see, it's still critting. So you can use this on Terrorblade or on Dragon Knight for range heroes. But normally you use him for melee heroes like Sven or PA, so that they'll be able to do more damage from the critical damage as well as the spell lifesteal, as well as the lifesteal. And the movement speed is very important as well. Yeah. So if you're playing Lycan as a support slash utility, all you need is a Guardian Scepter.
By the honor of the ancients.
Okay, so Magnus is a utility hero. You use him to grant empower buffs to your ally. I think that's quite standard. Other than granting the empower buff to your ally, yeah, he's also very good for his RP, right? His reverse polarity. So you can go for a dagger on this KB. Refresher. So all you need Magnus to do is blink. Yeah, all you need is for him to blink in and RP again. Yeah, so that's basically what Magnus is supposed to do. It's a very straightforward hero. Just empower your hero. Normally it's a melee hero like Tiny. Tiny will be good, or heroes that does not have clip already like Juggernaut, so that they have more damage and they do not have to buy BKBs for free. Yeah, not much to say about Magnus.
A knight in dragon's honor. Height. I am war.
Alright, next we have his Mars. Alright, so obviously Mars is a tank, and he's actually very situational because I will only play him for the Arena of Blood. And the Arena of Blood, what it does is that it blocks projectiles, enemy projectiles from entering range unit. So if opponent has range carries like Draw Ranger, when you have Arena of Blood, they wouldn't be able to attack through your Arena of Blood, which is very strong. Let's say you have a Luna here. Let's say you have a Luna. Okay, the Luna have to be outside of the Arena of Blood, sorry. Oh my god, so low range. As you can see, it can't really attack into the arena. It has to be inside the arena. If not, it wouldn't be able to attack. The projectiles are blocked. Yeah, so this is one of the most important utility of Mars. It's ulti. Other than that, yeah, he has Bulwark, which actually prevents damage taken from the front and the side. It can be countered with Shadow Demon and Doom as well, or even Silver Edge. But normally you only play him for its Arena of Blood, because there are other better tanks to play, such as Undying and Rift King. Yeah. If you're playing Mars, the item build will be a BKB Refresher, ALDs. Yeah, that's all you need. Sometimes you might go for a dagger if you need to, and yeah, probably that's all you need. But yeah, I don't really need a dagger. Yeah, that's all. It's mainly used to counter range carries.
By the gleam of my horn.
Alright, so the next hero we have here is Spirit Breaker. Spirit Breaker, his role is a utility slash carry as well. You use him to lock down the opponent's carry. He's really good 1v1 because of his Nether Strike. Nether Strike with Aghanim Shard grants him spell immunity when he casts it. Yeah, so that's a very important part of Spirit Breaker. He also has status resistance, sort of like a Slada. So actually Slada and Spirit Breaker is quite similar, but Slada locks down based on his attack, and Spirit Breaker locks down based on his spells. That's why I think attacking is more reliable than casting spells, because the cooldown duration is really hard to scale as compared to attack speed. Yeah, but you can use Spirit Breaker to lock down the opponent by getting heal items like BKB, Refresher, Altering Core, like ALDs. And then you want an Assassin Medal, and then your Assassin Medal will always be on the most dangerous target. So you probably want to Assassin Medal the opponent's range carry, and then you can perma patch it. If they have 7 heroes and only one of them deals damage, you can effectively lock down their carry by using a Spirit Breaker from his charge, as well as Nether Strike. Yeah, so Spirit Breaker is quite important during the 1v1 stage to lock down key heroes. If your opponent has multiple carries, then you probably need to have Spirit Breaker and someone else to actually lock down the units. Yeah, but all around he's quite a good unit. And another thing is that he applies a 4-second break, so you can actually use him to counter heroes like Bristleback, for example, or even X. Let's say we have a Bristleback. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see the break actually goes through BKB, so he's a very good counter for heroes that rely on their passive. So you use him in the 1v1 stage to counter your opponent, but you don't really use him during the 2v2 because he does not have much damage. As mentioned, he's a utility, so it's also a situational hero, but he does his job really well.
Good idea.
Alright, next hero we have is Sven. Sven is a very strong melee carry. He has a steroid spell called God Strength, grants him a lot of damage. So normally if you are playing him, you want a Daedalus, BKB, Refresher, as well as like a Pirate Head, right? And yeah, you need an MKB also if the opponent has Butterfly, and yeah, Pirate Head as well. And you need a Assassin Medal. If you are playing Sven, it's very important to get an Assassin Medal, because if not, you'll be stuck attacking the opponent's tank, especially if they have one. So you do not want to be hitting the opponent's Abaddon for like 20 seconds or 15 seconds. You want to jump to the back line and kill them while you still have your double BKB, Refresher, BKB. Yeah, so you can go for Aghanim and Aghanim Shard. This is very important so that you can skip your Blink Dagger, or you can go for Blink Dagger as well so you have more mobility around the map. Yeah, and when you're using Sven, you need to make sure that the opponent does not have Omni Knight, because when the opponent have Omni Knight, they will actually Sven will not be very useful, since Omni Knight Guardian Angel will prevent Sven from doing damage. And once your BKB is up, you'll be very easily disabled and kited by heroes. Yeah, so you ideally want to kill them during your BKB duration. That's why you need to have BKB and refresher for your safety. And you can play him as a support also actually, because it's Stormbolt actually dispels, and the War Cry has I think 10 seconds cooldown in Dawn of War and 8 second duration. So you have 80% uptime for 15 armor, which is 25 armor, sorry. So which is very decent. It's like a AoE 25 armor aura. So you can give him a War Cry, and other than War Cry, if you play him as a support utility, you can give him an attack free medal as well. So attack free medal be drums, bloods, on this. Maybe a spirit vessel if you want, something like that. Yep, so you can play him as a support. For him to spam his War Cry, and this will be very useful if your opponents are jumping you with physical damage like Asa and Sven. When you have plus 25 armor for your team, it's very hard for them to kill you, because yeah, you have so much armor, so much physical resistance. You see your physical resistance 9%, so it's really hard for them to burst you down. Yeah, so you can try playing Sven as a support if your opponent has very high physical damage. Yep.
Sven, here I come.
Okay, so the next hero we have here is Treant Protector. Treant Protector is Initiator, Jumper Initiator. Yeah, that's his main role actually, because his fruit actually prevents people from attacking, which is very useful actually. Yeah, and also he has AoE living armor. So if you actually place all your units together, let's say we have yeah, like this, you see AoE living armor is actually really strong. It gives a lot of armor, and the heal is actually quite decent. Yeah, if you have Holy Locket, then you actually heal more, but normally you play him as a jumper, so you normally want a BKB. So play on this. Yeah, that's about it. You can go for attack free as well, which is yep. Yeah, so that's the build for Treant Protector. Not much to say about him. He's just here to disable the opponent. If your opponent are jumping, you don't have to get a Blink Dagger, because you can just walk in and actually cast it. But if your opponents are backline, so you probably need a Treant Protector to jump in and cast Overgrowth. Yep.
Not ready. Sven stands ready. Treant. Anti-Mage. Nature is not.
Alright, next hero we have here is Anti-Mage.
Yes.
Anti-Mage is, like the name suggests, it's very strong against heroes that have very strong mages without any physical damage. If they are just purely magic damage, Anti-Mage will actually be a beast in that lineup. Because of its counter spell, it has so much passive magic resistance. They won't be able to burst you down with magic unless they break you. Yeah. So you can just go for standard Anti-Mage DPS items.
Ah, Manta.
You don't really need Manta actually.
As thou will it.
Yeah, so something like that, and then maybe a Aeon this if you want to. and Aghanim and Aghanim Shard.
Aye.
Yeah, I think this will be a good item for Anti-Mage.
Out of my way.
Yeah, this will be quite decent. The counter spell actually creates the blink fragment. So I seen some people playing attack free build, but it's not very strong because the illusion is not strong enough. Yeah, I'd rather you play Naga for this build. But he's very strong in jumping the opponent's backline because he has blink, so he can actually bypass the opponent's tank, which is very good. But he's very situational because he's very squishy, so you only play him when the opponent does not have physical damage, where the damage is mainly magical. Yeah.
All magic flies before me.
Time to collect my bounty.
Alright, so the next hero we have here is Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter is best played as a support. You can either play him as a support or as like I wouldn't say as a carry, more like although you give him carry items because you can use him to farm gold. Yeah, so you give him attack speed, maybe a shard, satanic, and on this KB special. Yeah, so you just want him to attack and then you can get the Jinaga lifesteal. That is how you play a carry build, just to farm gold. Just be careful that you cannot steal gold from summons. So if your opponents have summons, you wouldn't be able to steal gold from it. Yeah. For illusions, you can't do it as well. That is for the carry build. If you are playing support build, which I prefer, all you need is attack free medal and an Aeon Disc.
Yes.
Yeah. You do not want to give him any castable items because he will break his Shadow Walk. So you actually disable the Shuriken Toss and you will just have Shadow Walk and Track, so that you will actually track the opponent and remain in peace. Yeah. Like as you see here.
I follow the trail.
So all you want is for you to track, and then whenever there's a track kill you get a lot of gold. But when you're playing this, you gotta be careful because if you're playing Bounty Hunter as a support, you're actually wasting up one slot that could be used for other better heroes. So you gotta make sure that you have enough damage output. Yeah, if you don't have enough damage output, then your Bounty Hunter is probably going to pull you down because you could have gotten another hero who is more useful in a team fight. But yeah, definitely if you have Bounty Hunter as a support, you'll be quite rich late game because of track. Yeah. I think my Dota is lagging. I'm just going to restart Dota. Okay, so the next hero we have is Juggernaut.
You have summoned Juggernaut. A fine idea.
Prepare for battle.
Each blow sharpens one like this. Power increases.
Prepare for battle.
Alright, so Juggernaut is a carry that is able to burst down the opponent's backline, deals a lot of burst damage, and he's quite safe because his damage comes from his Swift Slash as well as Omni Slash. You can pair him with a Lycan and a Magnus, and then he'll be really strong. The downside for Juggernaut
A fine
is that
idea.
he can be kited if the opponent has like a Pangolier or a Jumper jumping in, then he will ulti them immediately. So if you're playing Juggernaut, you need a Assassin Medal. If not, you'll be actually you'll be just hitting their front lane and you're not doing much damage. You want to be actually jumping their back lane. So you need Assassin Medal, and you need a Swift Blink, BKB Refresher as well. You need to have some attack speed. You need better Fury as well if you do not have Magnus to empower you. Yeah. So you actually jump to the back lane and Omni Slash them. The problem is that your damage comes from the double Swift Slash and double Omni Slash BKB Refresher. So if you're not able to burst down the opponent during your combo, then you'll be in a lot of trouble. Yeah. The reason why we disable the Blade Fury is that we do not want him to cast Blade Fury, because during the duration, although he's magic immune, but he's not actually right clicking. Yeah, so he can actually get bursted down by damage when he's actually in the Blade Fury form. So we disable the Blade Fury. So pick Juggernaut when you're confident that you can burst down the opponent's target fast. Yeah.
Narrow here.
Agreed.
So the next hero we have is Mirana.
Prepare for battle.
Mirana is played as a carry and a utility. So the good thing about Mirana is that he has arrow, which has the triple arrows, right? When you hit level 25 talent, and this is very good because if you are playing the front line, you can shoot the arrow and you can actually hit 3 targets. Because when he's close to the front line, the arrows wouldn't split as much. And therefore there's a higher possibility of hitting more units. And also his Moonlight Shadow is very important, because with the Moonlight Shadow your units are invis, and opponents with long range spells will not be able to target you because Sentry Ward's range probably is not far enough, and you'll be safe from spells. Also, if opponents are playing Zeus, if you have a Mirana, you actually counter Zeus as well, because the first ulti actually reveals the opponent but does not do damage. So his her Moonlight Shadow is a very good utility spell, and with this you can actually have turn into a carry with a leap and a critical strike attacks when you leap. Yeah, and Mirana won't actually leap forward, you actually leap backwards. When there's opponents jumping towards you or when enemies that's close by, Mirana will actually leap backwards, so you'll be safe from harm. Yeah. Go for standard DPS items like BKB Refresher,
Monkey Kimber. Forward, pet.
yeah, you can go for items like this. And the neutral item is not that important as long as it's a DPS item. Yeah. And he has 140 attack speed talent in Dawn of War, so Mirana is actually a very strong red picker as well. But the drawback is that it's a single target, but it's a very good utility hero. Can fit well into quite a lot of lineup with its Moonlight Shadow.
Earthshaker, pray.
Alright, next we have Nyx Assassin. Nyx Assassin is a very annoying hero. He's more like a tank and utility. The good thing about him is that he is very survivable because when you get Arcanium Scepter, he's able to burrow into the ground. So when the opponents are jumping, you can have the Nyx Assassin, and then once their BKB pressure ends, they're not able to sustain through you. You can actually use this as a way to stun them with your Impale and Spike Carapace. Yeah, he does not deal much damage inherently. He's more of there to actually cause disturbance in a team fight, to actually break channeling spells or to stun the opponent. Yeah, so it's good when the opponents are fighting around Nyx Assassin. But if the opponents are playing the runaway build or attack free builds, then you'll be quite a big problem because you will not have enough spell cast range to actually hit them if they are so far. So what happens is that Nyx Assassin will actually move forward. He will break out of his burrow to move forward to cast his burrow again, and then before he casts his spells. Then this will put him in harm's way. So it's better if you play Nyx Assassin when you know that the fight is going to be where he's at and not move so much. Yeah, if fights that will break out at multiple locations is not that good for Nyx Assassin. Yep. So you use him as a disabler. You can give him at Terrorblade and Dagger as luxury items.
Earthshaker, pray.
Riki Maru at
Riki used to be strong because its Trick of the Trade is able to hit multiple units, but it has been nerfed already actually. So all it does is actually just increase cast range and allows you to target ally unit. So not much to say. Riki is not really a very strong hero now, but yeah, he actually has good survivability because of its Trick of the Trade. If you do a follower medal, what happens is that you actually follow the hero and you cast Trick of the Trades if you have Arcanium into that hero itself. Yeah, and yeah, Smoke Screen is actually quite a big AoE, especially when you have the talent. Yeah, so you can actually use him for the smoke because the silence actually lasts quite a long time.
oh yes.
It can be used as a support also if you have the Arcanium Shard with the Sleeping Dart, as well as the Smoke Screen. Yeah, so both these spells are actually quite decent. If you're playing as carry, you can play with a Lycan or a Magnus. Yeah.
Like a whisper. My
Alright, so for Shadowpin, to be honest, I find him a bit underwhelming. But his saving grace and the reason why he's in this tier is because of his cooldown reduction. He has a 30% cooldown reduction, and cooldown reduction talents are very invaluable. Heroes who have that are actually quite strong, just off their cooldown reduction talents, because they're able to spam spells and items more frequently. Yeah, so for Shadowpin you can go for Altering Core. I like to go for like items like Hex. Instead of jumping, you just stand back and cast your items. I think that is a better build. Yeah, but some people also play as a jumper, where you go for BKB, Refresher, Arcanium. Yeah, and then the other two items is up to you. So you just play it and ulti, you know. And yet it has the fear as well, so yeah, its aura is actually quite alright with the Friends of the Dark Lord as well as the Presence Armor aura. So if you are jumping, you can jump him with Meepo. Yeah, I think he's alright, not the best. But because, like I mentioned, because of its cooldown reduction, he's quite decent because there are more possibilities to play with him. Yeah. Normally use him for the fear to break up the opponent's formation. Especially if the opponent doesn't have BKBs, they are all playing force boots, attack free on these heroes. Shadow Fiend can actually, jumping into the opponent's backline, can actually force the opponent's backline to move forward, because if he's jumping behind and it backwards, it will force them to run in multiple directions. Yeah.
You didn't see that coming.
Alright, so Vengeful is a support utility hero. His strongest, okay, so he has a magic missile which actually pierces BKB, which is very rare for it to happen, especially it's a non-ultimate spell. Yeah, and the second spell is just alright. The third spell, Vengeance Aura, is really good because when you have apexes on your heroes, he actually grants you 48 damage per 100 base stats. So if you are stacking lots of agility or strength, it can give you a lot of damage based off that. And Nether Sword is actually very invaluable as a spell as well, because you can use this to swap your opponent's carry out by getting items like yeah, you can actually do this, and then you will swap the opponent's carry out, misposition them, and you're able to take them down. So positioning is very important, and Vengeful is able to break your opponent's positioning easily. Yeah, if you're playing as swapper, then yeah, that should be item build. But if you're playing as a utility, I mean as a support where you just want him for the aura and magic missile, then you probably want a attack free medal, so that he stays back to spam its first spell and just the aura that it provides, and disable the Nether Sword so that it does not jump in. Okay, for the next series we have is Ancient Apparition. Ancient Apparition fills a very niche role because its Ice Blast is able to stop opponents from healing. The opponents have a very high heal lineup composition such as Churn, Necrophos. A single blast of this, and during that debuff duration, you are able to kill them when they are not be able to heal, spell lifesteal or anything like that. Yeah, so you can give him these are the items that you're going to give him, especially with attack free medal as well. And also its Cold Feet is actually AoE spell, so it's AoE disable, and as well as the Ice Blast. Normally using just for the Ice Blast, but yeah, you can use it for the Cold Feet as well. It's an added bonus, and if the game drags long enough, yeah, you can play AA as a carry with the Chilling Touch as well, of course. It actually provides a decent damage, but obviously not as strong as traditional carries, because the damage here is fixed 140, and it's orc based, which means that it does not pierce BKB. Yeah. If you want to play carries which has strong orcs, Silencer and OD will be stronger. Yeah, but this is just an added bonus for AA. You normally use it for the Ice Blast. Really good against heroes that depend on spell lifesteal or lifesteal like BBX. When the Ice Blast debuff hits them, they won't be able to heal, and you can kill them easily.
Is it cold in here?
Alright, Crystal Maiden provides a huge amount of burst damage. From its Crystal Nova. Crystal Nova provides it's heavily buffed in Dawn of War actually. So yeah, like you can see here, 500 damage and 5 seconds cooldown.
I'll not argue.
AoE is quite big as well, so early game you can spam this for damage. And he has 15% magic resistance aura. Here it's only 6%, but in Dawn of War it's 15%. So it can be used to counter spellcasters as well. Yeah, you stack him with a pipe and you give a AoE magic resistance, which is quite decent. And if opponents are jumping, freezing field can actually stop them from moving with the Aghanim buff. You apply Frostbite to units that are standing there for a long time. Yeah. So its utility is actually quite decent actually. And yeah, late game the Frostbite is actually Frostbite is very good because the hero duration is 4.25 and the cooldown is 6 seconds, so you can permanently actually Frostbite the opponent's hero. Yeah.
Not ready.
But like, it's very situational because late game you're countered by BKBs. Yeah. You can do a teleporter for Crystal Maiden if you want. But if the opponent does not have BKB, you can do a Blink Dagger Refresher. So you can ulti them and they will get frozen. Yeah. But I put him in this tier because of its aura and its usefulness in the early game. Yeah.
Behold this.
Onward.
Alright, so for Darkseer is an initiator setup hero. Normally you want to pair him with another hero that has AoE spells or AoE damage like a DK or a Draw Ranger or something. Yeah, the vacuum has actually lower cooldown and it helps to take your opponents off position. You use a vacuum and then you will suck them all in together like their mini heroes together with their range carries, and then this will be more susceptible for them to spells such as Lina's Laguna Blade and stuff like that. And also if you have a Aghanim Scepter on Darkseer, your ulti actually that's the talent. Yeah, if you have the level 25 talent, you have the parallel wall, so you have a second wall, so this is actually quite good as well. Yeah. The Aghanim and the Aghanim Scepter and the Aghanim Shard buff isn't actually very good. You actually use him just for the vacuum actually. Yeah. As well as the wall of replica that actually creates replicas of enemy heroes. Opponents have very strong heroes, strong carries. When they walk through the wall, those illusions will fight for you as well. Yeah, and you can use him as a to put Ion Shell on your opponent, on your jumpers as well. So place him beside your jumper, and then you Ion Shell and search your jumper, and yeah, this will be very useful early game. But normally you playing for the vacuum, so because any spells that can take your opponent off their position is highly recommended. Those are very valuable spells. Yeah.
Behold the Scourge of Icewrack.
Alright, so Dark Below is an interesting hero actually. It's been buffed quite a few times and now it's actually really strong now. So in Dawn of War you want to disable the first ultimate. So he has two ultimates, Bedlam and Terrorize, but the one that you want is Terrorize. So you want to disable the Bedlam because when you're casting Bedlam, they both share the same how do you say casting, I think, so you can't really cast both at the same time. When you're casting Terrorize, you can't cast Bedlam and vice versa. So this is not a very useful spell. You only want to cast Terrorize, so you want to have this at the highest uptime. So disable this spell in Dawn of War. And Dark Willow is a very good utility and carry as well, because with the Aghanim Shard, when you cast your Curse Crown and it actually breaks, it actually creates the Bramble Maze around the enemy units. So this acts like a root to them. and yeah, actually you see the stun is actually very good. And with your Aghanim Scepter, you're able to hit such a long range, and the damage is very decent, 360 max damage, and it's even increased if you have the talent in Dawn of War. Yeah.
The sooner we're out of here, the better.
So if you pair this up with a Keep of the Light, or if you're lucky enough to get like Off the Ring, Spell Prism, Off the Ring Core, you have quite a very high uptime on your second spell. So you'll be nearly invisible actually, and it's very hard to take down the Dark Willow. The cons is that your damage comes from the second spell, which means that if your opponent has BKB, you won't really be doing much damage. Yeah.
Black Kingdom.
So for your items for Dark Willow, you don't really want to give standard DPS items. You just want him to have. You need to have MKB in case the opponents have evasion, of course. You need to have Bloodthorn, Satanic as well. Normally I like to go get a Bloodstone somewhere, or even a Trident.
I could do this all day.
Yeah, so maybe you get a Trident somewhere to replace this. Yeah, so items are flexible, so it's based on the situation. Kaya and Singe actually improves your Shadow Realm damage because this is magic damage. Yep.
Can't stay in one place too long.
So he's very good when fighting against range carries because he definitely has she definitely has more range. You just gotta be careful of jumpers because you can't deal with jumpers well since your damage comes from magic. Yep, that's the only drawback for Dark Willow.
It's not wise.
Okay, so next we have is Nature's Prophet. Nature's Prophet is excellent early game because of its trends. Trends act as tankers. Yeah, and he's able to spam this. Its ultimate is able to root the opponent as well. Yeah, so the duration increases from 2 to 3.8 seconds. It roots the opponent and they are unable to attack. And he has a very low cooldown in Dawn of War as well. So you can go for Aghanim, the Ring Core. Yeah, and you'll be able to spam this spell to keep them rooted for a very long duration of time. Yeah, and don't forget that he has cooldown reduction talent. Yeah, so you can actually give him items such as Bristleback, Bloodthorn, Fire. You can even go for Bloodstone, something like that. And Aghanim Shard. Yeah, so it's a very good utility hero that can be used. The only drawback is that BKB refreshes he can't really do much. But yeah, in long drawn out fights, Nature's Prophet is really quite strong. And you also gotta be careful if your opponents have Midas. You want to disable the trends. If not, you'll be feeding them a lot of gold. So speaking of Midases, Ogre Magi with a Midas, he can multicast Midas against Nature's Prophet or Broodmother. So you gotta be careful of that. Alright, Ogre Magi is an alright support that actually grants attack speed. And yeah, the other spells are not that useful. Fire Blast is only a single target. And yeah, you can go for Aghanim, which actually grants him the Unrefined Fire Blast, Disabler. Yeah, he's alright because he's able to multicast items, but it's also very dependent on the opponent's lineup, because if you only have one unit in range, then you wouldn't be multicasting much because there's only one unit. So there needs to be multiple units for you to multicast items. Yeah, so there's only one unit, then he probably won't multicast much. Now as you see here, he can't multicast on the same target multiple times. Yeah, but he can multicast. He can cast the same item on multiple units. Yeah. his other spells are quite lackluster. You normally use him for the Bloodlust to buff your ally. But if you just want to buff your ally, there are better heroes for that, such as Bloodseeker or IO, which gives IO gives attack speed as well as HP regen. Bloodseeker gives attack speed as well as spell amp. Yeah. So Ogre Magi is a very niche pick. You can use him as a buffer or for its multicast for spells. I mean for items.
The sun in my
Right, Oracle is also a very niche pick, very situational. His only role is to save heroes, that's all. It's a very standard build. This is all he needs. And
Prepare for battle.
attack free medal. Yeah. All you're just hoping for is for Oracle to cast this on your core hero when he's dying to prolong his life. Yeah, so 10 seconds is a lot of time, wasted time for your opponent when they are trying to kill your hero. Yeah. Other than that, that's the main purpose of Oracle. The other spells are just a bonus actually. Fate's Edict, yeah, it's alright, and Purifying Flames, the heals is okay. Everything is just cherry on the top. The main spell is False Promise. Yeah. So you just use this when you're playing like maybe a 1-core lineup, and it's imperative that your 1-core does not die. Because if the hero dies, there's no damage and you just lose the game. So that's when you want to use Oracle. All the opponents have very strong jumpers and they can burst you down, so to prevent you from getting burst down, you use Oracle to ulti your hero. Alright, so next we have Queen of Pain. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you guys have played against Queen of Pain before. She's a very irritating hero because she'll just keep blinking back and casting ulti. So the main problem, that's the strong point about Queen of Pain. It's very good when the opponents are jumping you because you'll just be blinking backwards and casting your ulti. But that is also the biggest drawback because you're only strong when people are jumping towards you. If you are fighting towards your opponent, then Queen of Pain will not be that strong because your ulti will not hit that many targets. It's better if they are chasing you to the fountain. That's when Queen of Pain is strongest. But then again, when that happens, it means that your Queen of Pain is the last surviving hero, and if she gets disabled by a hero like Rubik, which has instant leave, or Sniper which has the assassinate stun, or any hero that can stun you, then you'll be in deep trouble. Yeah. So that's the pros, and the pros of Queen of Pain is also the cons of Queen of Pain. For Queen of Pain, your items would be Bloodstone, Aeon Disc, Core, Windbreaker, BKB. Don't really need an attack free medal because yeah, he will be running back anyway. Yeah, so probably these items. You can go for Lycans as well. Yeah, that's probably your item build for Queen of Pain. Right, the strong thing about Rubik is that Rubik's has instant cast time. This means that he casts his spells instantly. That's what makes him so strong. And also, Telekinesis is an instant cast time spell, which means that if your opponent has Storm Spirit or any jumpers like Void Spirit, Ember Spirit, when you have Rubik, you're able to catch them instantly because of the instant cast time of Telekinesis, compared to heroes like Vengeful, who has a very long cast time for its magic missile. Yeah, and early game Fatebolt has very short cooldown and very high damage, and you're able to steal hero damage from in Dawn of War as well. Yeah, and you can best split Rubik when your opponent has very strong spells to steal, such as Magnus RP, Tidehunter, Ravage. Yeah, Those spells are really good for Bristleback to steal. Play him as a support. Something like that, yeah.
And mortals underestimate its power.
Okay, so Void Spirit, quite a similar role to Puck and Riki. He has the Resonance Pulse, which actually silence them. So they both hit the same role, just that Void Spirit has more utility with its Aether Remnant and Astral Spirit. So he has 2 stuns here. Yep. Good against heroes without BKBs so that you can silence them. If they have a lot of intel heroes and damage comes from spells and they don't have BKBs, Void Spirit will be very good against them. Yeah. That's all to say about Void Spirit. Don't really use him as a DPS. So you don't really want to build MKB or Daedalus. You just want to go utility like this. And make sure that he survives in battle as long as possible to annoy the opponent. That's it. Standard items.
There are none who cannot be mimicked.
Okay, so for Weaver, Weaver is best played as like a secondary carry. The good thing about Weaver is his Shukuchi. Whenever there is enemies nearby, you just Shukuchi away, which means that it's very hard to jump Weaver, because once there's danger she'll run away, and it's very hard to catch him because Shukuchi provides much movement speed. So you'll be wasting a lot of time chasing Weaver if you have a CC medal on him. Yeah, so that's the biggest pros. Yeah, that's also the con, because when there's a jumper, he will actually run backwards. So when you take enough damage, you run backwards, and you won't be doing much damage. You cannot stand its ground and attack. Yeah. So in long drawn out fights, Weaver is good because it's able to spam its swarm, and the swarm is able to attack the opponents when the Germinate attack procs. Yeah. So he's able to do quite decent damage as well. And if you have the Aghanim Scepter, he's able to reduces the ulti cooldown dramatically, and he's able to cast it on your ally as well. Yeah, so he's more like a utility / carry hero. Yeah, used as a secondary carry if you want to. You go for standard carry items. Right, so for Clockwork only has 1 row and 1 row only. Its only row is to initiate, that's all. You only play Clockwork if you want to have the initiation, and when games are important for you to get the first initiation off. If you are playing Clockwork, combo with heroes to follow up, such as a Disruptor or a Magnus RP after that. You just want to hook in and absorb spells from your opponent's heroes, that's all. So once you hook in your Cox, he gets spell immunity inside our Cox, and yeah, just absorb damage and absorb spells, and after that you'll be safe for your allies to jump in. That's all. And also if they have a strong jumper, Clockwork can actually hook him and stop them from jumping, and then your Disruptor or maybe a Warlock or Jakiro can cast a spell safely. Yeah, that's all. Not much to say about Clockwork. Items here, Aeon Disc probably. You need Aeon Disc, Lotus Orb. That's all. Maybe a BKB to prevent Nullifier. Yeah.
I'm well. The loom weaves and a new pattern appears.
Luna as a carry is very situational because of its short attack range. So attack range is king when you're playing range carries. If your opponent has higher range than you, he'll be attacking you before you're attacking them.
Prepare.
There's a very high chance that you actually die before you reach your attack range, such as fighting against Drow or Mirana or something like that. That's a big problem.
Follow the night.
Currently, one of the current metas to play Luna is for its ulti, because its ulti actually has a very short cooldown in Dawn of War, and it actually stuns the opponent with its talent. Yeah, so you can play him as a magic burst with Aghanim Refresher, but you gotta be careful if your opponent has summons or heroes that has illusions, or there are summons that are dispensable units. You gotta be careful because they will absorb the eclipse damage, and you won't be actually doing real damage to the real heroes. Or if you are playing Broodmother, these heroes will actually absorb the damage, and it won't be effective damage in a sense. Yeah.
The gears are in motion.
Another thing to note is that Luna's aura damage is quite negligible, so don't take it just for the aura.
Hope we find trouble.
The Monkey King is
Prepare for battle.
it's quite okay for its bonus strike. Bonus strike is a very low cooldown in Dawn of War. I think it's 5 seconds, so it's very spammable. AoE stun, always good for that. The only problem is that it's melee range. But if your opponent does not have enough burst damage or disables, a Monkey King with a Guardian Scepter will always be able to jump up on trees. And in Dawn of War, when you jump up on trees and you come down, you'll be rebuilt to full HP. Yeah. So if your opponent does not have silence or disables, Monkey King is invincible because you're able to spam this.
Time to move.
Yeah.
No.
Best use when opponent does not have disables, as mentioned. For carry items you can just go for yeah, you can just go for normal carry items. You don't really need Battle Fury because he has Cleave Talent in Dawn of War. Yeah, so you can just go for that. And maybe a Satanic, you can go for Butterfly. MKB. Last item is up to you.
I'll go where the action is.
Yep. Or you can even go for an attack free medal, so that you can stay back and actually attack them.
The dark moon comes.
To the fight.
Okay, so one thing to note about Leshrac is that in Dawn of War, Leshrac's AI would always walk forward to the opponent because he wants to cast Diabolic Edict in the cast range of the opponent. So you always cast Diabolic Edict and walk forward. So this is a good thing because you want it to be in the center so that you can House Nova would affect as many units as possible. Yeah, but the cast time will be quite long, so sometimes people might disable it. But I think it's fine. Leshrac is very strong early to mid game with its nihilism, because it turns them into ethereal form so that they are not able to attack you, neither are you able to attack them, and they take increased magic damage as well. A Guardian Shard with Split Earth is very strong because the stuns, yeah, as you can see there, 5 seconds delay, but it's shorter in Dawn of War. Okay, one thing to note is that say we have this hero here, Nullifier. So the counter for Leshrac is that when you are casting this and your opponents cast a Nullifier, you can actually purge off your nihilism as well. So you gotta be careful because late game he falls off very quickly, his damage is fixed, and you can't really scale well unless you have like very high Bloodstone charges. So items you want to go for would be, you don't really want Altering Core, you want a Bloodstone, you want a Shiva, Kili, Invoker. You have Aghanim Shard, all these. Yeah, so these are items you want. You going Leshrac, you gotta make sure you end the game fast because as the game drags on, the opponent has more physical damage and they're able to kill you through your nihilism. Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
To the fight.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of putting Shadow Demon in the A tier list, but one issue I have is that he's very situational because the first spell and the last spell is very dependent on the lineups that you face. So for example, the first spell, normally use it as a support spell to disrupt your allies with a follower matter, so that it's able to create illusions such as Draw Ranger or range carries, Draw Ranger, Medusa. Those heroes are able to split shot. The illusions are able to split shot. Yeah. But it's very situational because it's based on heroes, and also your Demonic Purge is able to break the opponent, and with Aghanim you have multiple charges. But if the lineup does not have heroes with strong passives for you to break, then your ulti is basically just a spell that actually slows the opponent or breaks Aeon Disc. Yeah, and that might not always be useful. You probably want another hero with more utility than that. That's why he's in the B tier. But all around he's a very good hero. Yeah, Aghanim Scepter. Aghanim Shard does not really do much, so don't bother buying it for him. You want Aghanim Scepter? You want an Aeon Disc, Fatal Lens, TB, Refresher. And then we have a follower's matter to follow your hero that you want to disrupt for more damage. Yeah, that's about it. And late game I want to disable the Shadow Poison as well as the Shadow Poison release, because I think that these are taking up too much time for Shadow Demon to cast his useful spells. Yeah. Enchantress is a very interesting hero. I recently learned that she's quite viable because with the Aghanim Shard, you're able to provide a passive Nature's Attendant. So it's a passive heal, and this can be buffed with Holy Locket.
Prepare for battle.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump.
So as you can see, I'm actually healing the creeps.
Yeah. Yes. Let's race. Enchanting. Not yet. Ice sprink. Here I come. How enchanting.
Prepare for battle.
Enchanted, I'm sure.
Bye. Lucky scepter. Refreshing. Yes.
Prepare for battle.
It's not time yet. Very good. Sound advice. Your prayer answered. To battle. A position of power. I ordain it.
Spectre.
Very good.
Prepare for battle.
But of course. Yes, dear. Come back to me, come back to me. But of course. Silence. Very well. Not yet. It is foretold.
Make your offerings. Zeus is here.
Conquer is my name. Collision course!
Prepare for battle.
Now that was a failed blow. I go. I'm not ready. It's not time yet. I'm not ready. So you say. Black King Bar. I change tacks. Not yet. Not yet. Full sail ahead. Emerald Conquer here.
Alright, so I just realized that I unfortunately muted my mic and I didn't unmute it. So I'll just put in captions for those heroes that I missed because of my muted mic. And yeah, I just today I just reviewed heroes from in the C tier and the B tier. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me in the comments section. I think that's it for today. I'll be doing the A tier and S tier on another day. Yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, alright, so thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know. Alright, thanks, bye.